This week it's a bit different. We're in my kitchen. I just wanted to point these things out to you because these are some of the things you might actually get in your pantry boxes, or you might see cheap on the shelves. And they are a bit like, what the dickens do I do with these? But, so what we have is things like chia, which is not a grain, so it's millet. This is a mixture of freekeh, spelt and quinoa. As you can see, it's just a mixture. This is buckwheat. This is my quinoa mix. This is a wild black rice. I like this. If I'm doing rice, I'll cook a red rice or the black rice and just add it, because this is expensive, but it adds a bit of taste and prettiness. This is ground spelt and couscous, and this one is just the freekeh grain. Can you see that? Now, don't get all scared about these things. They're just basically, if you want to call it, rice. So I'll show you how to cook something up with that. And even if I only use one thing, it kind of like lets you know what else you can cook with it. And as I'm going to force feed the cameraman with it, he'll be honest and tell you what it's like. The other thing I'm also going to be using today is this. Now, we had tinned barley quite a while ago, and I bet some of you have still got it lurking in your cupboards and don't know what to do with it. I actually love tinned barley. Well, I love barley. When we got it, it was the first time I'd ever seen it tinned. And this is just cooked up and drained. So I'm going to show you what to do with that. Although we always stick to the 5 herbs and spices, you can see I've got rather a lot more. This one is my newbie. You've all seen me do roast potatoes with leftover crisps. I grind them up to a powder. Well, I've taken this one step further. This one is what my husband calls itchy pigs, pork scratchings, and I've ground it up with the crisps. I'm hoping that it's going to make my roast potatoes really pop at Christmas. And it's just leftovers. This is what's left over if you've had a couple. So there's that. Veg, now some of the veg is going over. I've kept it purposely. I mean, some people would lob this. I'm not going to. I cook with it. I just cut these bits off, pull this bit off, cut that off, and you can see that's perfectly good to use. You'll see me cooking with this today. I rescued this. It was going to get thrown in the bin. Well, this will go on the compost. Once you've peeled that all back, can you see we've got a nice fresh cabbage. You'll also see me cooking with manky old bananas today. Around here we've got the what do I do with these again, and these are the tin selection of pulses you can get. Now these are so good for us. Green lentils, fry up an onion, add some cumin, green lentils, cooked rice, absolutely glorious comfort food at its best. I'm going to be doing a little vegetable extra with the butter beans. The butter beans also make a fabulous hummus. It's a much lighter hummus than if you made it from chickpeas, and that's just basically pop it in your food blender, blend it up with, I don't even use oil with this one, lemon juice, roasted peppers. These are fabulous. Red kidney beans. They make stews, chilies, curries, red kidney bean and coconut curry. Look it up on Google. It's absolute comfort food at its best. Red kidney bean and chocolate chili. Oh my goodness, the kids will love you forever if you make that. And I mean, these are not expensive. I think they're still round about 40, 50p a can. Chickpeas, well, we all know I love chickpeas. So you get your hummus. I've often done chickpea and apricot tagine. That is lovely. The 5 beans. Now, you could use these as normal or throw them in a stew. Any of these you can throw in a stew or a casserole. Fava beans are one of my favourite. You don't often see them around. They make a lovely curry, a very meaty curry. So if you're a vegan, vegetarian or cooking for one, it's a really good one. Haricot beans. Don't be put off by haricot beans. Stick tomato sauce and a Heinz label on them and you've got Heinz baked beans. I'm never without my coconut milk. And just so I've got them to hand, I've got a couple of my spice blends. Got all my spices. I make up all my own blends and some of my jars are empty. This one is a Jerusalem mix, so I tend to use it for Middle Eastern type cooking with my baharat and a couple of others like that. This is a basic curry mix and this is one of my favourites. Is, forgive the pronunciation, it's ashar gosht. So in the pans, I've softened up some onions. I haven't put cumin in this because I really don't know what I'm cooking yet, and I don't want cumin if I decide I'm going to do some kind of pasta dish. This is carrots. I've just cooked them up in a little ginger and water and cut them at funny little angles. This is going to be, even if I don't get chance today, this is going to be a carrot and coconut Sri Lankan curry. I've part-boiled up some beetroot and I've partly cooked some onion halves in butter. What I first want to talk about is tatans, upside down flans. Buy a ready roll if you must. I've partially cooked it and I would cook this a little bit more. I want that to be a little bit brown at the base. So these are all little things for Christmas. And if you make them in your tart tins, like here, you could do all different ones, little miniature ones, which are great for Christmas. You can also freeze them up. So basically, it's get any of the veg you want. So can you imagine a pretty flower of sliced beetroot or onions? This is just going to onion halves. Lay your pastry on the top. Roll it out, put a little garlic butter on it, press it down nicely, put these babies to bed, then pop it in the oven and you have a tatan. When it's cooked, you put the plate on and you turn it upside down. So I could have done a mushroom one, an onion one, a sliced beetroot one, a carrot one, courgettes, anything, just like this, done in the little tart tins. You can do different ones, like a little half tomato, baby cherry tomatoes, and put them by for Christmas. So that's the tatans, and that's finished with. The next I'm going to be doing is, I was asked to do a little few special things for non-meat eaters at Christmas. This is one of my favourites. It's a stuffed mushroom. Now I could stuff it a couple of ways. I could stuff it with my barley mix, which I'm going to be making, or this one, which I think is extremely pretty. And I've just got to get behind here and get a courgette, all I'm doing is running the slice down. That's basically it. This is a butternut squash that I'll be hasselbacking. So we've got our nice big mushroom. These flat mushrooms work the best. This could be in a pastry case, in a little pan or a little container. Line it with the rolled out bread, line it with pastry. I'm using the mushroom. Now I want to get flavour in that mushroom, and this is a garlic butter. And the measurements for the soft butter are half a pound of butter, put it in your food mixer and whip it up until it's nice and soft and blended and smooth, and then slowly whip in up to 3/4 cup of oil. Once that starts melting, that's going to give me flavour. Now, if you put that into the oven like that, or in a frying pan, and just cook it down as it is, slap it in between two pieces of bread, that's virtually like a steak sandwich, and it's only a mushroom. But I've given it to meat eaters and they've not realised. So what I want to do now is I want to make this pretty. So basically I'm just wrapping it up. So you can see that's like the stamen part of it. So now I'm just going to wrap around. And now out comes the green now. And don't forget, you don't have to do these in mushrooms. You can do them in pastry cases, bread cases, just little fancy dishes on their own. I mean, that would make an incredible starter for a meal, wouldn't it? Just done like that. Use any veg you want. I'm doing these 3. Now you can see, and it's taken a little bit of time, but it's not taking much food, is it? It's that was a courgette that I actually grew. Now, can you imagine this cooked up at Christmas? It's just so pretty, and it hasn't cost me a lot. I got these, I think the 4 were 80 odd p. So that is it. It's a little flour, and it will retain the heat. I'm going to put a little bit of garlic butter on the top, and that will go in the oven. I cook everything 3 to 4. Put a little bit of melted butter on that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of butter on the top, which will melt in. But look how pretty that would look on the plate. As a first course, you don't even have to be a plant-based eater. As a first course, put a little dribble of something on the plate. Which takes us on to the next thing, which is Hasselbacking. So this is Hasselback potatoes, which I've put some of the Itchy Pigs mix, salt and oil on. Hasselbacked beetroot, which I've put orange and cumin on. Hasselbacked carrots, which I've put ginger and honey and salt on. And these are the roast potatoes. Let's test drive one of these babies. These are really nice. Right. What you have to imagine, I'm going to put these on a bed of buckwheat. And I've got some glorious, sticky onions. So I fried an onion up with some garlic. And then I added the buckwheat, and I barely covered it with water, and I just cooked it, I think about 10 minutes. It's barely cooked. And then what I'm going to do is get some heat under that and add the barley. And that's that softened butter I made. Now I could have used any of that mix. I could have used the mix, the spelt, the freekeh, anything, and just cooked it all up the same. So you've got a little bit of really good for you grain in there. And then you could add this to rice. I'm using barley. I've got some peppers left over. You could pop some courgettes in there. There's another bit of skin. See, nothing goes to waste. I've cooked the buckwheat so it's got a little bit of bite in. Here we go. A bit of... This is pomegranate juice. And honestly, I can't tell you how tasty it is, just being carrots and beetroot. Don't forget we Hasselback them. And I'll show you quickly. Now, I'm using a knitting needle and a big chopstick. And I'll just show you how to Hasselback. Sharp knife is essential, and I've just had mine sharpened, and surprisingly, they were only £3 each to get sharpened. So all I'm doing is going down the vegetable. Now this is with any vegetable. I did it with the carrot, you can see. And I did it with the beetroot. Now, the beetroot I pre-boiled up until it was quite firm, not cooked yet, with orange juice and cumin. The carrot was with ginger, and I was going to use honey, but I didn't have any, so I used yacon syrup. And then all I did was roast it up. Now, the idea is to get flavour in our food. That plate of food, I don't think cost 25p. And we've used up that can of barley that is most probably still in your cupboard from about a year ago, if not more. Now, I want to show you how to Hasselback the butternut squash, which, don't forget, I grew, so I'm really proud. To make this easier to cut into, you could just put it in the grill or in the oven for 5 minutes. The other way, if you cut in any hard vegetable like this, swede, turnip, is to put your knife there, nice sharp knife, but just rock it. Can you see how just by rocking it, just rock that knife and it goes down. I'm not going to do it all. Now, what I'd want to get in here would be my garlic butter. Let me think, walnuts would be fabulous. Scrunch them up a bit, mix it with the garlic butter, any herbage you want, think Christmas. And then what we do is the same thing as we did to the potato and the other veg. We slit it up and we get butter and veg in here. Then we roast it up. So that's another Christmas special. And it needn't be for a vegan, vegetarian. You know, sliced on the plate. That's a lovely Christmassy thing to do. And at the moment, these are still quite reasonable. So that's our Hasselback. Let me put these back. What are we on next? Bacon. Okay, I'm just warming my frying pan up. Right, so this is using the Manky brown. It can't be brown enough. This could be jet black, and that's how I want it. Don't try this with nice green bacon. You won't get the same bacon, bananas. You won't get the same taste. So all I'm doing is peeling the banana. Now I'm doing two things with the banana peel. That's one of them. Spoon, take away all this banana pulp. There we go, that's all we do. And I'm putting it there, and that goes in my chickens or the compost bin. Nothing's wasted. So, scraping it away. Right, and then I would just soak it in my water, and I've kept this water. I don't even throw this water out. Strain it. This is good to drink. It's got all the essential vitamins and stuff the banana has. Or I'm giving this one to my chickens today. And if you haven't got chickens and you don't fancy drinking it, give it to your plants. Right, so it says about 10 minutes, but it can be overnight. But I'm just doing it quickly. So, this is my marinading solution for my bacon. Now, I could have made this bacon, I'll actually do one, with courgettes, aubergines. You can leave your bacon in for about 10 minutes or overnight. Can you see? That's my marinading solution. I'm just frying it up. I'm not leaving the courgette in for as long. And the courgette is an afterthought. An even bigger afterthought, I think I've got a aubergine. So we're going to put that in. It's a bit fat, but it's just to give the idea. So I could have used aubergine, courgette, preferably 10 minutes in the brine, but we haven't got 10 minutes. And then we're just frying it up just as if it was regular old bacon. Oh, and can I take this opportunity to thank, because I don't know who it was, but somebody left these for me. And I'm so grateful. It's not often I get really posh olive oil to play with. So thank you very much, whoever you were. You didn't leave me a note or anything that I could thank you. Right, here we go. So we're just frying this up. I've been a good girl and I've written the recipe down. So those that are interested, it's 3 tablespoonfuls of soya sauce, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, but I used the Yacon, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. Now it really needs to be the smoked paprika to get that taste. And I think it's still 39p in our Polish shop and stuff like that. So you get it in the packets like this and they're about 39p. And half teaspoon of garlic powder. And again, if you don't want to go to the Asian shop to get it, don't go to Tesco's, go to your local, this one's the Purple Polish shop, and it's 39p. Let's see if we get a crunch. You cook it to how you want it. Oh, yes, there's a crunch. Isn't it gorgeous? All right, this is the courgette one. And this is the one that didn't have hardly any time to marinate, so I apologise. But it just shows you that you can make it. So now I'm just going to knock up. And when I say knock up curries, I really do have to knock them up here. So in the pan, I'm using the same frying pan because it's me. Some of the onions, which have already been softened. It's a curry, and in my house that involves cumin seeds. I forgot to chop up garlic, and I cooked the onions up with ginger. So I forgot to chop up garlic, so I'm going to try a little bit of this garlic powder, which I got from the Asian shop because I use a lot of it. Some tomatoes. So that's just spices. In go. Now this time I chop them up into little bite-sized pieces. Bit of salt. And should we have a little bit of coconut milk? You don't have to. I just will be opening up to do a Thai curry later, so I've got it here. Mixing that up. So don't forget, all we did was scrape the banana off the flesh. Chopped it up small. It was soaking in water. This was about an hour, but it could be overnight, it doesn't matter. Now, here's a meal for 4 that was made with waste. A tin of tomatoes. It would go lovely with the barley mix. I'm just bringing it up to temperature. I'm going to put a little bit more curry powder in. And don't forget, I'm making this in haste. You give it a bit of love. Let it cook slowly. You bring it up to temperature. Put it in your heat box, your ice box, your Wonder Bag, and just let it chug away in there. And all the time it's doing that, it's getting richer. That's what length of time does to your cooking. It makes it unctuous and rich. So I just turned round and noticed that I've still got peppers left, and so suddenly had this idea. I forgot to show you how to stuff this one. So it's basically, let's use this because this is what I've got, but you can actually stuff it with anything. Put some cheese in there if you want, but this is so flavoursome anyway. And there you go, that's stuffed and ready to roast. I'd reckon even if you didn't use peppers from the packet and cook them down. And if you're going to stuff raw peppers, please, please, please pre-cook them a bit, because there's nothing nastier than having just cut your pepper in half and not cooking the pepper properly. The sweetness and unctuous comes out when you've cooked it. So I think I got about 5 peppers out that jar, so that would make 4 or 5 of them. The next thing I'm going to do, because I've got these peppers left, is go completely away from the Indian. Same pan, onions, a herb mix, and this is just mixed herbs with a couple of chilies. So in that goes. Carefully measured out. You know what your family like. I just know what my family like. So put as much or as little. This is my Italian herb mix, so I've used Italian herbs, some chilies. My Greek one has got dried lemon peel in it as well. I just knock them up. So there it is. I've got another tin of tomatoes. This is easier because I've got the basic onions pre-cooked. So this, but if you're going to be standing here bulk cooking for an hour or so, then do things like this. Get your carrots pre-boiled, get your onions pre-cooked. Here I've got my beetroot pre-boiled. Right, there we go. So that's thinging away. Get the peppers in it. This is the whole reason I've done this. This is great. Served on top of pasta, again with our barley mix. Get some pasta. This is all pre-boiled. Don't forget, if we're having a cook-in, this is what we do. Now, ideally, I'd like some mozzarella cheese sprinkled on this before I bake it. Whisk this through. This took no time at all, did it? And that's cooked. And then mozzarella cheese on top. If you do it in tinfoil containers, throw it in the microwave. Kids come home from school and you've got it baked. And that was basically because we had half a jar of peppers left over. I was just going to show you the roast potatoes. Everybody who's been watching these knows I've always got a bowl of boiled potatoes. Boil them up whole in their skins till they're just soft. If you've got one like this, it's got a break in it, use this one first. If I want to make mashed potatoes, I would just peel it and I would grate it. Let me show you. So peel, and you can see how easy they peel. Now, I've got this left over. In it goes. And just grate the potato on the top. And you can see it's like an instant mash. Put some cheese, salt and pepper on the top of that, and we have a plant-based cottage pie. So if I want to make chips, I just cut it into chips shapes. There we go. Leave the skin on or take the skin off. It's completely up to you. And then I fry these. These will actually make the lightest, fluffiest chips ever. Wedges, I would just cut them into wedge shapes. Now for roast potatoes, I want scored edges, so I'm using my bread knife. And as you can see, as I peel it, I'm digging it into the potato. And that way I've scored all my potatoes and I've made grooves. Now I don't even cut my potato in half. I kind of like put the knife in and tear it in half because I've made grooves. Then that's when I treat it like a normal potato and I toss it in the oil and my crisps or my itchy pigs now, or even just salt and pepper. So I've made lots of grooves. It does make for a crisp outside and a really dry, fluffy, because no water's got in here much because it's still seized. And these will last about 4 or 5 days in this weather. Oh, 2 more things, because we're still on Christmas, so I'll just talk through them in case I've gabbed for way too long. So I want to get some butter in that pan and some turmeric. Turmeric because I want it to be a little bit of taste, but I want it to be yellow. Nice lot of butter. And let's use a little bit of that cabbage I rescued. So all I want to do, this would then make a really good coleslaw. Another nice dressing for a coleslaw is if you've got sweet chilli sauce, instead of putting mayonnaise, you can ring the changes by diluting sweet chilli sauce with a little bit of lime juice and dressing your coleslaw with that. Right, so I've just cut that up. In it goes into the frying pan. These are great for the kids. They can take them to school. Now, this filling I'm making is a cheap and cheerful one. I'm using our trusty potatoes again. Grating my tatey in. This is great on its own for supper. So you can see I've used a potato, a tiny bit of cabbage, spinach would be nice in here. Anything you've got to get rid of. Now, we all have these things. I'm cutting this one into 3s because I'm only going to make little ones. So you could stand there with the kids, get them doing it, cut them into 1/2 or 3s. In it goes. Now this filling could be anything, any leftover soups, stews, curries. Just make sure you drain the juice out. Thing it over. These can then be frozen, cooked in the oven, or fried up, and that's basically it. So we can make up the rest. So there's another meal, make up the rest. I just want to show you this one. I'm not going to do it. We've all heard of beef Wellington. Well, this is beet Wellington, and what I did is I've boiled my beetroot up with garlic, cumin and orange juice. I'd cook my mushrooms up. I'm just going to cut them. So I'd cut my mushrooms up, I'd get my little bit of pastry. This one's not going to waste because I'll have it for my tea. So I'm just doing a square of pastry. I want to take a little bit of the base off because I want to taste it. So, mushrooms, a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic butter. So we've done another main or first course for Christmas. And if you want to really cheat, you could use the pre-boiled beetroot. It's already done. Just get some flavour into that. There we go. We've got another main for Christmas or special occasions. Only yours wouldn't be pink. One more thing and that's it. I have finished. And it's get the cheapest, cheerfulest pate you can get. Okay, so what I would do, I would split this up 2 ways. Like I said, the cheapest, cheerfulest pate you can get. This is for Christmas or special occasions. Now in this one, I would get prunes, chop them up really small and cook them down in a little bit of butter and mash them in with that. In the northern France, where I absolutely adore and worship, they're one of the local farmers. His wife used to make a prune and meat pate, which I adored. This one I would do the same, but I would do it with my mushroom. I'd cut my mushroom so it was tiny, cook it up in flavoured butter, so garlic. If you can afford a little bit of brandy in there, you could do that with the prunes as well. So that would be cooked down in butter, mix it in, and you've made 2 posh pates for, what's the, a pate, say 60p, the cheap pate. So one would be prunes, one would be mushrooms.